At 12:17 in the morning, I learned my old gray hoodie had a better romantic life than I did. I came home late with sawdust in my hair, rain on my shoulders, and the kind of tired that makes a grown man consider eating cereal straight from the box over the sink. The apartment was supposed to be dark, quiet, empty in that roommate way where another person lives there, but you both pretend the walls are thicker than they are. Instead, the kitchen light was on, and Sadie Hart was standing barefoot by the refrigerator wearing my hoodie. Not borrowing it casually, not throwing it on because the laundry machine had betrayed her. Wearing it like it meant something. The sleeves swallowed her hands. The hem reached halfway down her thighs, her dark hair was loose around her face, messy in a way that made my brain briefly forget every reasonable boundary we had ever agreed to. She had one shoulder tucked up near her cheek, and her fingers were curled into the collar like she was holding herself together by holding on to me. I stopped with my keys still in the lock. She turned. Her eyes were red. Then, before I could decide whether to make a joke, apologize for existing, or walk backward into the hallway like a gentleman idiot, she said, "It smells like you, that's why." There are sentences a man is not prepared to hear from the woman he has spent 11 months trying not to fall for. That was one of them. My name is Mason Brooks. I was 29, owned a small custom carpentry shop on the east side of Portland, and had mastered the art of fixing warped doors, uneven cabinets, and other people's old furniture while completely ignoring the fact that my roommate could ruin my entire nervous system by reaching for coffee on the top shelf. Sadie was 28, a pediatric nurse, and the only person I knew who could come home after a 12-hour shift with cartoon stickers on her scrubs and still argue passionately that microwave popcorn counted as dinner if you ate it with intention. We had rules. Not written rules exactly, adult rules. The kind you don't say out loud because saying them out loud makes everything worse. Don't flirt too much. Don't ask why the other person is awake at 2 a.m. Don't notice how good she looks in your old t-shirt when she steals it from the dryer by mistake. Don't stand too close in the hallway when both of you are reaching for the thermostat. And most importantly, do not fall in love with the person whose name is on the same lease as yours. I had already failed at most of those silently. Sadie apparently had just kidnapped my hoodie. I finally closed the door behind me. "That's my favorite hoodie." She looked down at it like she'd forgotten what she was wearing. "I know. You know? It was on the back of your desk chair. That's inside my room. I also know that." I should have been annoyed. A normal roommate would have been annoyed. But she was standing in the soft kitchen light with her cheeks flushed and her mouth trembling in a way that made every protective instinct in me wake up at once. Still, I tried for normal. "You broke into my room to steal my hoodie?" Sadie lifted one sleeve-covered hand. "Your door was open." It was not. It was emotionally open. I stared at her. She sniffed, then gave me the tiniest smile. "Fine. It was slightly ajar." "My door does not get slightly ajar by itself." "No, but you left it that way this morning when you were late and dropped a bagel on your boot." I pointed at her. "That was a private tragedy. It had sesame seeds everywhere. It was public." For a second, the room felt like us again. Easy, familiar. Her making me laugh before I could stop myself. Me pretending I didn't watch her mouth when she smiled. Then her smile faded. I stepped closer, slowly enough to give her room to retreat if she wanted. "Sadie." She looked away. That was the thing about her. She could handle blood, screaming kids, anxious parents, doctors with God complexes, and whatever disaster happened in the hospital on a full moon. But if someone asked how she was, really asked, she acted like the question had teeth. "What happened?" I asked. "Nothing. You're in my hoodie at midnight, standing in the kitchen like a raccoon that just discovered feelings." Her lips twitched. "That's weirdly accurate. And you've been crying." "I have allergies." "To what?" She looked at me then. Humiliation, apparently. The joke landed, but the pain under it didn't. I set my keys on the counter and leaned back against it, leaving a respectful 2 feet between us, even though every part of me wanted to cross it. "Tell me." Sadie pulled the collar of my hoodie up toward her chin. "You smell like cedar." "My shop smells like cedar. And coffee. I drink a lot of coffee." And that soap you buy from the farmer's market because you pretend you're not a fancy man. I am a practical man with sensitive skin. That got a real smile out of her. Small, but real. Then she said quietly, "It made me feel less alone." I didn't have a joke for that. The refrigerator hummed between us. Rain tapped the window over the sink. Somewhere upstairs, our neighbor's dog barked once and gave up on whatever argument he'd been having with the universe. Sadie looked embarrassed now, which somehow made it worse. She started tugging at the hem of the hoodie like she was about to take it off. I caught the sleeve gently before I thought better of it. Her eyes dropped to where my fingers held the soft fabric around her wrist. The air changed, not dramatically, not like in movies where music swells and someone knocks over a lamp. It changed in a quieter, more dangerous way. Her breathing slowed. Mine did too. The kitchen suddenly felt too small for two people in one stolen hoodie. "You can keep it on," I said. Her eyes lifted to mine. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm trying to be noble." That made her laugh under her breath, and the sound did something stupid to my chest. She didn't pull her sleeve away. I let go first because I was not a saint, but I was trying to be a decent man. Sadie leaned back against the fridge, still watching me. "You're home late." Client changed their mind about cabinet handles. At midnight? They discovered bronze? Tragic. Devastating. I may never recover. She smiled again, but then her phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up. I didn't mean to look. I swear I didn't. But it was right there between us, bright as a flare in the quiet kitchen. "Mom, you can't show up alone again, Sadie. Not after what Caleb said. If Mason is real, bring him Saturday." My eyes moved from the phone to her face. Sadie went very still. "Caleb?" I asked. Her throat worked once. "My ex." "The one who said you were too much?" Her face changed when I said it, like she hated that I remembered. I remembered everything about her. That was the problem. Sadie reached for the phone, but her hand shook just enough that I saw it. She locked the screen and tucked it against her chest. "I didn't want you dragged into this," she said. "Into what?" She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, there was embarrassment there. Yes. But there was also something else. Something warmer, braver, something that looked a lot like the truth trying to get out. "My sister's engagement party is Saturday," she said. "Caleb will be there because apparently my family believes forgiveness is mandatory if the dessert table is expensive enough." I waited. Sadie swallowed. "My mom kept asking if I was seeing anyone. I said yes." My stomach tightened for reasons I had no right to feel. "Oh," I said. "Right." She looked at me like she could hear the disappointment I was trying to hide. Then she took one step closer. The hoodie brushed against my jacket. "And when she asked his name," Sadie whispered, "I said yours?" For a few seconds, I forgot how to be a person. Sadie Hart had just told her family I was her boyfriend, or boyfriend adjacent, or whatever category required a man to wear decent shoes, and pretend he hadn't spent nearly a year memorizing the exact sound of her laugh through our apartment wall. "You said my name," I repeated. Her chin lifted, defensive but shaky. It was the first one that came to mind. That's flattering in a deeply accidental way. I panicked. I've been called worse. Mason. The way she said my name stopped the joke in my throat. She was close enough now that I could see the tiny freckles across her nose, the dampness still clinging to her lashes. She looked exhausted and beautiful and furious with herself. "I know it was stupid," she said. "I shouldn't have involved you. I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll tell my mom we broke up." "We broke up?" "Yes." "Already?" It was brief but meaningful. I nodded slowly. "Did I get custody of the houseplants?" "You get the fern because it likes you better. The fern has taste." Her mouth trembled into a smile, but it faded too quickly. I pushed off the counter. "Sadie, I'll go." She blinked. "What?" "To the party, Saturday. I'll go with you." "No." She shook her head immediately. "No, that's not why I told you. I wasn't trying to trap you." "I know. You hate parties." "I dislike parties. Hate is reserved for wet socks and people who paint antique oak white." Mason, what time Saturday? She stared at me as if I'd just offered to donate a kidney in exchange for cake. You don't have to do this, she said. I'm aware. Caleb will be there. So, you mentioned. He has this way of making everything sound like he's being reasonable while he's actually cutting you open with a butter knife. My hands curled once, then relaxed. Then I'll bring a better knife. Mason. Metaphorical knife. That doesn't make it less alarming. I smiled faintly, but she didn't. Her eyes were searching mine, and under the embarrassment and worry was something that made my pulse kick. Hope. Not because she needed rescuing. Sadie did not need rescuing. She had survived long shifts, bad breakups, family guilt, and a shower drain I was pretty sure had once tried to swallow a hairbrush. But she was asking, in the only way she knew how, if someone would stand beside her while she stopped pretending she was fine. I wanted to be that someone, not fake, not convenient, her someone. So I said the dangerous thing. I want to go. Sadie went still again. Why? Because I'm halfway in love with you, and the other half is just waiting for permission. Because seeing you in my hoodie feels less like theft and more like prophecy. Because if your ex made you feel hard to love, I want to spend an entire evening proving how easy it is. I said none of that. Not yet. Instead, I looked at the hoodie. Because my reputation is at stake. Apparently, I'm real. Her laugh broke out soft and surprised, and this time it stayed. You're ridiculous, she said. You picked me. I panicked. Still picked me. Her cheeks went pink. That, more than anything, almost ended me. She looked down, twisting the long sleeve around her fingers. If you come, there need to be rules. Of course, fake dating bylaws. I'm serious. So am I. I have excellent penmanship. She ignored that, but her lips curved. Rule 1. No overdoing it. Define overdoing. No dramatic declarations. No calling me snookums. No hand on my lower back in front of my aunt who already thinks every man is one strong handshake away from marriage. I tried not to think about my hand on her lower back. Failed. Fine, I said. No snookums. Rule 2, if it gets weird, we leave. Deal. Rule 3? She hesitated. The rain filled the silence. I waited. Sadie looked up at me from beneath her lashes and her voice dropped. Don't make it feel too real unless you mean it. There it was. A door slightly ajar. My heart hit hard once. I stepped closer, not all the way. Just enough that the kitchen light caught on her eyes and the air between us thinned to almost nothing. What if I mean it? I asked. Sadie's lips parted. For one reckless second, I thought she might close the distance herself. Her gaze dropped to my mouth and the room tilted. Then the radiator clanked violently because our apartment had the romantic instincts of a drunk shipwreck. Sadie startled and I laughed under my breath. She pressed a sleeve-covered hand to her forehead. This is insane. Probably. We live together. I noticed. You leave socks by the couch. You steal hoodies from bedrooms. You hum while making eggs. You talk to the microwave. It needs encouragement. It burns everything. So do you if we're discussing eggs. She gasped. My eggs are fine. Your eggs have a legal team. She shoved my arm and I caught her hand on instinct. Not hard, just fingers around fingers. Bare skin, warm and soft from inside my sleeve. The playful look slipped from her face. Mine did too. Our hands hung between us like a confession neither of us had signed yet. Sadie's thumb moved once against my knuckle. Small, deliberate, I felt it everywhere. You really want to come with me? She asked. Yes. Even if my mother asks how we got together? I'll say you seduced me with aggressive microwave popcorn. She smiled. Even if my dad asks what your intentions are? I'll tell him honorable but struggling. Her eyes warmed. Even if Caleb says something awful? I squeezed her hand, then loosened my grip so she knew she could pull away. She didn't. If Caleb says something awful, I said, I'll look at you and let you decide if we laugh, leave, or tell him to choke on an olive. That's oddly perfect. I've been told I'm useful in olive-based emergencies. Her smile softened into something I had never seen from her before. Not friendship, not roommate amusement. Tenderness. She looked at our hands. I don't want to use you, Mason. The truth came easier this time. Then don't. Her eyes lifted. I took a breath. Let me choose it. The kitchen went quiet enough that I could hear the rain sliding down the window. Sadie's fingers tightened around mine. Okay, she whispered. Then I choose you too. It was supposed to be about Saturday, about pretending, about surviving one family party and one smug ex-boyfriend. But she didn't say, I choose this plan. She said, I choose you. And I was a weak man. I raised our joined hands slowly, giving her every chance to stop me. She didn't. Her gaze stayed on mine as I brushed my lips across her knuckles. A simple thing, a nearly old-fashioned thing. But her breath caught like I had kissed her somewhere far more dangerous. When I lowered her hand, she was looking at me as if the fake part had already started to crumble. So, she said faintly, we should probably practice. My eyebrows rose. Practice? For Saturday. Hand-holding. Casual affection. Looking like we haven't spent 11 months arguing about dishwasher loading techniques. You load bowls like a criminal, and yet you are fake dating me. Apparently my standards are complicated. She stepped closer until the hem of my hoodie brushed my jeans. Show me, she said. My voice came out rougher than I intended. Show you what? How you'd touch me if you meant it. There was no universe in which a sane man survived that sentence. I lifted my hand slow enough to be a question and set it carefully at her waist. Not possessive, not performative. Just there. Her eyes fluttered. Then she leaned into my palm. Not much. Enough. My other hand came up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. My fingers grazed her cheek, and she turned into the touch like she'd been waiting longer than either of us wanted to admit. For the record, I said quietly, I would absolutely overdo it. Her smile was barely there. Rule 1. I'm terrible with rules. I know. And then she rose onto her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. Not yet. But her lips lingered at the corner of my jaw, warm and soft and devastating. When she pulled back, her cheeks were flushed, and she looked pleased with herself in a way that made me want to forget every rule we'd just made. Practice, she said. I let out a slow breath. You're going to be a problem. Sadie smiled, still wearing my hoodie, still holding my hand. Good, she said. I'd hate to be too easy. Saturday arrived wearing rain and bad decisions. By noon, Sadie had changed outfits 4 times and rejected all of them, with the grim determination of a surgeon removing shrapnel. I sat on the edge of the couch tying my shoes, trying not to look toward her bedroom every time the door opened. It opened again. What about this? I looked up and forgot the English language. Sadie stood in the hallway in a deep green dress that skimmed her body like it had negotiated with gravity and won. Her hair was pinned up loosely, little dark pieces escaping around her face. She wore small gold earrings and no shoes, which made the whole thing unfairly intimate, like I was seeing the before version nobody else got. Well, she asked, nervous. I stood. Too fast, probably. That one, I said. Her lips parted. That bad? That good? Color rose in her cheeks. Oh. You look... I searched for a word that wouldn't make me sound like a man about to propose in the entryway. Impossible. Sadie blinked. Then she smiled down at the floor. That's not a standard compliment. I'm not in a standard amount of trouble. Her smile widened. The room softened around us. Then she held out 2 pairs of heels. Black or nude? I stared at them. That feels like a trap. It is, but you're my date. So suffer. My date? Fake, I reminded myself. Except she had kissed my cheek 3 nights ago, and since then we'd been living in a strange new apartment where every ordinary thing had teeth. Passing her in the hallway felt like foreplay. Watching her steal coffee from my mug felt like a marital crisis. Yesterday she'd fallen asleep on the couch during a movie, her feet tucked under my thigh, and neither of us had moved for an hour. Nude, I said. She glanced down. Why? Because the black ones look like you'll hate me by dessert. She laughed. Excellent boyfriend instincts. I adjusted my cuff. I've been practicing. I noticed. The way she said it made me look at her. Sadie was watching me with the kind of quiet focus that made the party, her family, Caleb, all of it shrink to background noise. Then she walked over and stopped close enough to straighten my collar. I didn't need it straightened. She did it anyway. Her fingers brushed my throat. You clean up well, Brooks. You sound surprised. I've seen you eat peanut butter with a screwdriver. It was clean. It was not. Her hands lingered on my collar. Mine found her waist almost without permission. She went still, but not away. Never away. Her breath touched my chin. This okay? I asked. Her eyes flicked to my mouth. Yes. That one word nearly undid me. I should have kissed her then. In our living room, with the rain ticking against the windows and her heels abandoned by the couch. I wanted to. I wanted to so badly my hands tightened before I caught myself. Sadie noticed. Of course she did. Her voice went softer. Mason, if I kiss you now, I said, I'm going to mean it. Her fingers curled into my shirt. Maybe I'm tired of fake things. The air left my lungs. I bent slowly, giving her time, giving myself one last chance to be careful. Her phone rang. We both froze. Sadie closed her eyes. If that is my mother, I'm becoming a lighthouse keeper. I leaned my forehead against hers and laughed quietly. Answer it, lighthouse girl. She pulled the phone from the table and glanced at the screen. Her face changed. Not fear exactly. Armor. Caleb, she said. My hand flexed at her waist, then eased. This was not my moment to take over. It was hers. Do you want to answer? I asked. Sadie looked at the buzzing phone, then at me. No. She declined the call. Immediately a text appeared. Caleb, heard you're bringing someone. Didn't think you'd actually find a man willing to play along. Sadie's jaw tightened. I wanted to say a dozen sharp things. Instead, I stepped closer and covered the phone with my hand. Look at me, I said. She did. He doesn't get to be in this room. Her eyes searched mine. And what is this room? I smiled a little. Currently, a very damp apartment with questionable plumbing. Mason. I brushed my thumb over her waist. It's ours. Something in her expression eased. She set the phone face down without replying. Then, to my absolute destruction, she rose onto her toes and pressed her mouth to mine. It was supposed to be quick. It wasn't. The first touch was soft and stunned, both of us going still with the shock of finally. Then her hand slid up my chest, and mine tightened at her waist, and the kiss turned warm, hungry, real. Sadie made a small sound against my mouth. That was it. That was the end of me. I kissed her like I had been pretending not to for 11 months. Like every stolen glance, every late-night conversation, every stupid argument about laundry had been building a bridge neither of us dared to cross until now. When we broke apart, her eyes were bright and dazed. That was, she whispered. Practice? I offered weakly. She laughed, breathless. Terrible lie. Awful. The worst. I rested my forehead against hers. We don't have to go. Her hand slid to the back of my neck. We do. Sadie? I'm not going because of him. She swallowed. I'm going because my sister matters to me, and because I'm done letting Caleb decide what rooms I'm allowed to enter. Pride hit me so hard it felt like tenderness. Then we go, I said. She nodded. Together? I kissed her once more, lighter this time. A promise, not a plea. Together. The engagement party was held at a winery outside the city, the kind with string lights, exposed beams, and a valet who looked personally offended by my truck. Sadie slipped her hand into mine before we reached the doors, not for show. I knew because no one was watching yet. Her fingers threaded through mine and she squeezed. Inside, warmth and noise wrapped around us. People laughed near a long table of champagne. Her sister Maeve squealed when she saw Sadie and rushed over in a blur of satin and perfume. You came! Maeve hugged her, then looked at me with open curiosity. And you brought him! Sadie's hand tightened. I smiled. Mason. Congratulations. Maeve shook my hand, then leaned towards Sadie. He's handsome. Sadie coughed. Subtle. I'm engaged, not blind. I liked Maeve immediately. Then Sadie's parents appeared. Her father was quiet, kind-eyed, with a handshake that tested structural integrity. Her mother was elegant and tense, her gaze flicking between our joined hands and my face. So, her mother said. Mason? So, I replied. Sadie's mouth twitched. How long have you two been seeing each other? Her mother asked. Sadie opened her mouth. I answered because we'd prepared for this one. Depends how you count. Her mother raised an eyebrow. I looked at Sadie. I noticed her the first week she moved in. Took me longer to be worth noticing back. Sadie turned toward me, surprise softening her whole face. That had not been in the script. Her mother blinked. Maeve made a tiny noise like a tea kettle. Sadie recovered first. He grows on you. Like mold, I said. Like cedar, she corrected. The word landed between us, private and warm. Her thumb stroked mine once. For the next hour, we survived shrimp skewers, relatives, and a cousin who asked if carpentry was like Etsy, but louder. Sadie relaxed by degrees. She laughed more, leaned into me more. At one point, I brought her a plate with all the foods I'd seen her eyeing and none of the olives. She looked down at it. You remembered? You hate olives. I mentioned that once. You were passionate. It stayed with me. Her expression changed again, tender and almost scared. What? I asked. She shook her head. I'm not used to being studied kindly. There, in the middle of a crowded winery, my chest cracked open. I touched her elbow and drew her slightly aside behind a tall arrangement of white flowers. Then get used to it, I said. Her eyes shone. This is dangerous, she whispered. I know. I don't want to go back after tonight and pretend we didn't. We won't. Her breath caught. I brushed my knuckles down the side of her hand. Whatever this is, it's not ending at the valet stand. She looked at me like she might kiss me in front of the hydrangeas. Then a voice behind us said, Sadie. Her body went rigid. I didn't have to turn to know. Caleb had arrived. Caleb looked exactly like the kind of man who apologized with the right words and the wrong eyes. He wore a navy suit, a charming smile, and the confidence of someone who had never wondered if he deserved the space he took up. His gaze slid over me, measured and dismissed me, then landed on Sadie like she was an old possession he'd misplaced. There you are, he said. Sadie's hand found mine, not behind her back, not hidden, right there where he could see. Mason, she said, her voice steady enough to make me proud. This is Caleb. I held out my hand. Nice to meet you. He shook it, firm, performative. Likewise. I've heard a lot about you. No, you haven't, Sadie said. A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Caleb's smile thinned. Sadie glanced at me and the corner of her mouth lifted. That tiny shared moment did more than any speech I could have made. It reminded her she wasn't alone, and it reminded me she didn't need me to fight her battles. She just wanted me beside her. Caleb tucked one hand into his pocket. Your mom said you two live together. We do, I said. How convenient. Sadie tilted her head. It is. The commute to date night is fantastic. I nearly choked. Caleb's eyes flicked to her dress, then to my hand wrapped around hers. I'm surprised. You used to say dating a roommate was messy. I used to say a lot of things while dating you, she said. Growth is beautiful. This time I didn't laugh, but only because I was busy falling a little more in love with her. Caleb leaned closer, lowering his voice. Can we talk for a minute? Privately. Sadie's fingers tightened once, then relaxed. No, she said. One word. Clean as glass. His expression barely changed, but something unpleasant moved behind his eyes. Sadie, don't be dramatic. I felt her flinch. Not much. Enough. Before I could speak, she stepped closer to me, not hiding, choosing. I'm not being dramatic, she said. I'm being clear. Enjoy the party, Caleb. Then she turned away with my hand in hers and walked us straight toward the dance floor. I followed because I was not a fool. Also because if Sadie Hart wanted to drag me anywhere in that green dress, I would have followed her into traffic. A slow song had just started, all piano and soft percussion. Couples drifted together under the string lights. Sadie stopped at the edge of the floor and looked up at me, her bravado fading into something shakier. I don't know why I came here, she whispered. Yes, you do. Her eyes shone. My knees are doing something weird. They're probably offended by the shoes. She huffed a laugh, then pressed her forehead briefly to my chest. Right there, in front of everyone. I went still. Then I wrapped my arms around her, not for show. Not to prove anything to Caleb or her mother or the entire dessert table forgiveness committee. Because she had reached for me. Because I wanted her there. Sadie exhaled against my shirt and I felt some of the tension leave her body. Dance with me, I said. She lifted her head. Do you dance? Badly, but with intention. Like microwave popcorn? Exactly. Her smile came back, small and luminous. I led her onto the floor and set one hand at her waist. She placed hers on my shoulder, and when our joined hands settled between us, everything noisy blurred. She looked up at me. You were very restrained. I considered several olive-related options. I could tell. I'm proud of you, I said. Her face softened. For saying no? For knowing you're allowed to. Her lips parted, and the vulnerability in her eyes hit me harder than Caleb's smugness ever could. No one says things like that to me, she whispered. Then I'll say them twice. Mason, you are allowed to say no, you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to leave parties, stay at parties, steal hoodies, hate olives, burn eggs. My eggs are not the point. They're never not the point. She laughed, but it trembled. I drew her a little closer. And you are very, very easy to choose. Sadie stopped moving. The song kept going around us. People swayed. Glasses clinked. Someone cheered near the bar, but Sadie and I stood still in the middle of the dance floor, as if the whole night had narrowed to the space between my mouth and hers. You mean that? She asked. I meant it before I knew I was allowed to say it. Her hand slid from my shoulder to the back of my neck. I'm scared, she admitted. Of me? No. Her thumb brushed the hair at my nape. Of wanting this and being wrong. I leaned down until my forehead touched hers. Then we'll go slow. We kissed in the living room. Slow for us may require revisions. A watery laugh left her. Then she kissed me. In front of her family, in front of Caleb, in front of the hydrangeas, the champagne, and whatever cousin thought carpentry was loud Etsy. It wasn't a performance kiss. It wasn't possessive or punishing or designed to make anyone jealous. It was soft at first. A question. Then I answered. My hand spread at her back and Sadie melted into me with a sigh that made every rule we had ever made feel like a childhood superstition. When she pulled away, her cheeks were pink and her eyes were bright. There, she whispered. Now everyone knows. I smiled against her temple. Including us? Especially us. After that, the party became almost bearable. Maeve cornered us near the cake and whispered, I don't know what just happened, but I support it violently. Sadie hugged her. Please don't make it weird. I was born making it weird. Her father gave me a long look later, the kind that measured lumber, weather, and intentions. You make her laugh, he said. I try. She stopped laughing for a while. I looked across the room. Sadie was talking to Maeve. Animated now, hands moving, green dress catching the light. I noticed, I said. Her father nodded once. Keep trying. I will. When I found Sadie again, she was alone on the terrace, cooling her flushed face in the damp night air. Rain misted the vineyard beyond the railing. She had her arms wrapped around herself, and for one stupid second, I wished she had my hoodie. She turned when she heard me. Hey, you survived my family. Your aunt asked if I had fertile shoulders. She asks everyone that. I'm not sure that helps. Sadie laughed and leaned against the railing. I stepped beside her, close enough our sleeves brushed. For a moment, we just watched the rain. Then she said, I didn't ask you to come because I wanted a shield. I know. I asked because when I said your name, it felt. She looked down at her hands. Safe, yes, but also honest. Like some part of me was tired of pretending I didn't want you there. My chest went tight. I turned toward her. Sadie. She faced me too, brave and nervous. I don't want to fake date you anymore. The words knocked the breath out of me. I want to date you, she continued. Actually, terribly. Probably with too much popcorn and ongoing arguments about dishes. Your bowl stacking is a crime. I'm confessing feelings here. Sorry, continue. Her smile shook. That's all. That's the confession. I reached for her hands. Good, because I'm in love with you. Sadie froze. I hadn't planned to say it like that. On a terrace, at her sister's engagement party, with her ex 20 yards away and my truck probably being judged by valet. But there it was, true and irreversible. Her eyes filled. You are? Yeah, I swallowed. Inconveniently, thoroughly, with poor timing. She laughed through a tear. I'm not there yet. I know. But I'm walking toward it, she whispered. Fast. I brought her hands to my mouth and kissed her knuckles like I had in the kitchen. This time, she tugged me down and kissed me properly. When we went back inside, Caleb was near the hallway watching us. Sadie saw him. Then she slipped her arm around my waist and kept walking. Not to prove a point, because she could. We left the party before dessert. Not because Caleb was watching, not because Sadie's mother kept staring at us like she was trying to solve a math problem involving shared rent and kissing. We left because Sadie leaned up and whispered, I want to go home with you. And every intelligent thought I had packed a bag and moved out. The drive back to Portland was quiet in the best way. Rain blurred the windshield. Sadie kicked off her heels and tucked her feet under her on the passenger seat, one hand resting palm up between us. I took it at the first red light. She smiled out the window. You know we're going to have to talk about this. Absolutely. Like adults. Unfortunately. With honesty. I was hoping for interpretive dance, but fine. She laughed softly and I brought her hand to my mouth, kissing her knuckles. At the apartment, we stood in the entryway without turning on the overhead light. The place looked exactly as we'd left it. Her rejected shoes by the couch, my coffee mug on the table, a blanket half fallen to the floor. But everything felt different, like the walls knew. Sadie slipped off her coat. So? We kissed. A few times. You told me you loved me. I did. She looked up at me, nervous again. Are you going to be weird if I don't say it back tonight? I stepped closer and touched her face. Sadie, I didn't say it to collect it from you. Her eyes softened. I said it because it was true, I continued. You can take whatever time you need. Or never say it if you don't feel it. I'm not here to turn your heart into a deadline. She stared at me for one long second, then she whispered, That is aggressively attractive. I laughed, and she grabbed my tie, pulling me down. This kiss was slower than the others. No audience. No borrowed courage. Just Sadie in our dim entryway, her mouth warm under mine, her fingers curled in my tie like she decided I was staying right there until further notice. I was happy to comply. Eventually, she leaned back, breathless. We need rules, I groaned. More bylaws? Yes, real dating bylaws. Fine. Rule 1? If we fight, no sleeping on the couch unless someone truly deserves it. You mean me. You leave socks in places socks should fear to tread. Noted. Rule 2, she said. We keep our rooms for now. I nodded. Good. Her eyebrows lifted. Good? Sadie, I want this done right. Not rushed because we share a hallway and I look excellent in formal wear. You do look annoying in that suit. Thank you. She smiled, then went serious. Rule 3. If this gets messy, we don't use the apartment like a weapon. I tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Deal. And Rule 4. She hesitated. I waited. Her fingers loosened on my tie and flattened over my heart. Don't stop being my friend just because you're becoming more. That one nearly took me out. I covered her hand with mine. Never. Her eyes glistened, but this time she didn't look embarrassed by it. Then she stepped back, went to the couch, and picked up the old gray hoodie from where she'd folded it earlier that day. She held it out. I should probably give this back. I looked at it, then at her. No. No. I took it from her hands and slipped it over her head myself. She laughed as the fabric swallowed her dress and ruined all her careful elegance. Her hair got mussed. One earring caught in the collar. She looked ridiculous. She looked like mine in a way I knew better than to say too soon. There, I said. Now it's where it belongs. Sadie slid her arms into the sleeves and lifted the collar to her nose. Still my hoodie. Still smelling like cedar, coffee, farmer's market soap, and every feeling I had failed to hide. But when she looked at me over the collar, her eyes were clear. It smells like home now, she said. I pulled her into my arms. We didn't solve everything that night. Real life is not a string light dance floor. It is dishes and schedules and bad moods and someone forgetting to buy toilet paper. It is two people learning the difference between chemistry and commitment. But we started. The next morning, Sadie made eggs. They were terrible. I ate every bite. 3 weeks later, Caleb sent her a long message that began with, "I've been thinking," and somehow got worse from there. Sadie read the first 2 lines, handed me the phone, then took it back before I could develop an olive-based legal strategy. She blocked him herself. Then she kissed me in the kitchen and said, "I just wanted a witness." 2 months in, we told the landlord we were dating. He blinked and said, "I assumed you were married." Sadie was offended. I was delighted. By winter, she kept a toothbrush in my bathroom even though her bathroom was 12 steps away. By spring, my room became our room in slow, ordinary ways. Her book on my nightstand, her lavender lotion by my sink, her cold feet finding my legs at 2 in the morning with absolutely no apology. And somewhere in all of that, she said it. Not during a candlelit dinner, not in the rain, not after some grand dramatic speech. She said it on a Tuesday while wearing pajama shorts and my hoodie, watching me repair the wobbly kitchen chair she refused to throw out. "You know," she said, sipping coffee from my mug, "I love you." My screwdriver slipped. She grinned. "Careful, Brooks." I looked up at her, my heart acting like it had never heard good news before. "Say that again." "No, you'll get cocky." "Sadie." She came closer, set the mug down, and cupped my jaw. "I love you." I kissed her until the chair, the screwdriver, and the rest of the world could wait. A year after that night, we moved into a small house with warped floors, ugly cabinets, and a front porch Sadie declared emotionally promising. I fixed the cabinets. She filled the porch with plants. The fern came with us, smug and thriving. On our first night there, rain started just after midnight. I found Sadie in the kitchen, barefoot, making tea, in the glow of the stove light. She was wearing the gray hoodie. It was softer now, faded at the cuffs. Paint on one sleeve from when she'd tried to help me with the guest room, and mostly painted herself. I leaned in the doorway and watched her. She turned, caught me staring, and smiled. "What?" "Nothing." "That's your lying face." "I was just thinking." Dangerous. I crossed the kitchen and wrapped my arms around her from behind. She leaned back against me like she had been made to fit there. Tea forgotten. Rain tapping the windows of the house we were slowly turning into ours. "What were you thinking?" she asked. I pressed a kiss to her temple. "That my hoodie had good taste?" She laughed, soft and sleepy, and turned in my arms. "It still smells like you," she whispered. I kissed her beneath the kitchen light, in the quiet house with the warped floors and the thriving fern, while rain washed the windows and Sadie's hands curled into the front of that old gray hoodie like she was holding home. What would you have done if you came home late and found your roommate wearing your favorite hoodie because it smelled like you? Have you ever had a friendship or roommate situation turn into something more? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.